Hey YouTube, I'm Tycondrius here doing another action figure review, and today we're having a look at the Emperor's Champion, the Black Templars Emperor Champion, Rolantus from Joytoy. Now this is the first Black Templars Emperor's Champion they did. They actually recently announced that they're doing a second one, which is kind of annoying because I actually literally bought this guy, and I think within 2 days of buying him, because I had him in my pile of loot with Big Bad Toy Store, and literally within 2 days of paying for him, they announced they're doing a second version, which is a little bit annoying, but it is what it is. So overall, it is a really cool figure. We'll take a quick look at the box first. So he comes in this the newer style white and black packaging with the kind of 40k stuff in the background. There's like the Emperor on his throne in the background. And then you have a picture, an image of what comes in the box. So you have them in various poses, and then you have an image of the figure. These are done in 1/18 scale. So it isn't too bad. They come in a plastic tray when you open it up, so you can see everything that's in the box. So here he is standing at his kind of default pose, I suppose you would want to say. So if you're going with the default pose, because these are 1/18 scale, they are pretty tall, so he stands around 5 inches, 5 and a bit actually, to around 5 inches. So if you wanted to replicate the original Black Templar Emperor, or the Emperor's Champion pose, you can kind of do that. I'm talking about the old original Firstborn style figure, where he had the sword out like this and he was kind of running. You can do that. If you want to replicate the second version, he had his sword up like this. Now that's going to increase the height of the miniature, or the action figure. He was basically standing with his arm back like that and kind of walking forward a bit. He was kind of more looking up at the sword, but that was the way he was. And if you were to do that for the shelf, he comes in around 9 inches because the sword is so big. The sword is actually massive, but it isn't. It's supposed to be an ancient relic. So it is that. Parts that are separate with this guy in the box is his backpack is actually off him when you get it. On the back of the box, it shows these components are actually on the ground next to him. These are actually attached on him when you get him, so you don't have to worry about that. I think they only show it so that you know that they're removable or intended to be removable. He does come with his signature weapon, which is the sword. It's a power sword. I can't remember if it has an actual special name. I believe it did. I can't for the life of me remember what it is. He comes with this chain attachment, which is a separate piece, which connects his sword to his arm. It is a standard thing for Black Templars to have their weapons basically attached by a chain to them. It's a traditional thing, and I think I can't remember where it started off from. The Black Templars themselves are second founding chapters, so they're not like Ultramarines or Blood Angels. They're actually second founding of the Imperial Fists, if I remember correctly, which is a kind of big leap from their bright yellow armor to the black armor that the Black Templars basically sport. Imperial Fists are known for having their bright yellows. These guys are like nearly the polar opposite, with all black and some extra trim, so it is kind of interesting. He does come with a bolt pistol. Now this is pretty much the same bolt pistol that the Blood Angel Death Company guys came with as well. It has a removable magazine, which is pretty nice. Pretty sure it's the exact same sculpt, and it's almost the same paint job. It has that same kind of wine colored red for the casing, which is kind of cool. He comes with 2 additional hands. So he comes with, well, in the box he actually comes with the trigger finger hands on. I've already swapped it out. He does come with 2 additional grip hands, and one of the grip hands, I really don't want to take off the actual piece that's on it, but it does come with this. I'm assuming it's supposed to be like a holy relic, a ancient relic that is on what looks like prayer beads. So he does come with that. I can't remember if it's actually part of the miniature sculpting for the Primaris. I never picked up the Primaris versions, There is two, I believe there is two versions of the Primaris miniature. The one that this guy is based on, and then there's a newer one, which is the current model, which is the one where he's kind of, after killing, basically giving the killing blow to an orc that's on his base, and his sword is more facing downwards. So he has that. Articulation wise, this guy's quite articulated. His arms can do 360. He has dual jointed elbows, which is quite nice. He has a ball peg for the wrist. It doesn't really get in the way too much of this chain thing. The chain thing is a additional rubber piece, so it does have some nice articulation. Doesn't really hinder it too much. You can get two-handed poses with him, which is quite nice. He does have an additional hinge on the shoulder to give him that extra movement to kind of give it across the chest, to position the sword across the chest, so you can have him look like he's doing that. Like, move his body in the right position, can look like he's giving a charge, which is quite nice. His shoulders are kind of hindered in the sense that you can't really get them up too much, so like they don't kind of go out to the best. In fact, the shoulder pads do move out of the way because they are on a separate ring, which is different to how they originally were done. Originally, they were part of the shoulder pad and were just held on, or part of the shoulder, and they were held on with pegs. They swapped that out for this newer system, which is nice. There is a swivel in the bicep, dual jointed elbows, and it has a ball hinge at the wrist. There's double waist articulation. So he has a upper waist and then lower waist, or upper chest and then lower waist. He has forward kick, not so much back because of the armor plating. He can only really do splits that much. He does have dual jointed knees. He does have pegs on the bottom of the feet. There is no base with these guys, but if you have something similar, in fact, I think he might actually fit on one of these. See if the peg fits. It's a bit of a stretch, but if you have one of the McFarlane stands, he will fit on it. In fact, if you have one of the 40k McFarlane stands, it probably would look good. It almost look like he has an actual slaughter base. He does have toe articulation and ankle articulation, so he has quite a good range of movement. And then his head is on a ball joint. In fact, the heads are on actually dual ball joints, but this one seems to be a bit tight. So there's a ball joint at the base of the neck and one at the base of the helmet. So it just kind of, you can get some good range of movement out of it. He does have an iron halo on his head, which is this laurel sort of thing. It is a bit of a gummy piece, and it does feel a little bit fragile, I will say that. His backpack is a separate piece, as I said, in the box, and it does have this another kind of, it's not quite a purity seal, but it is kind of some sort of, relic sort of thing attached to him, which is kind of cool. It is kind of designed to be in a kind of sort of free-flowing, it's static pose, so you don't get any movement out of it. You can't kind of position it the way you want, but it is there. And then his shoulder pads are sculpted with the iconography of Black Templars, and he has all this really cool detail going on. So he is very similar in design to pretty much all the other Black Templars. I'll just bring in one guy here. This is one of the Crusader Squad guys. I do have this Crusader Squad, but I haven't actually done a review of them yet. But as you can see, he has the same kind of chain idea going on with the attaching the weaponry by chains. It is a standard kind of Black Templar thing to do. I do also have the Assault Primaris Black Templars that they first released for when they did the bikes, and they are actually different to these guys again. They actually use, instead of having sculpted on iconography, they actually only have painted on ones, similar to how they did the Ultramarines, or at least most of the Ultramarines. So here is the first version Ultramarine Sergeant. These guys are on the 2.0 bodies, and the difference is, you can see the shoulder pad thing that I was mentioning. The shoulder pad is actually part of the shoulder. There's actually a double dumbbell kind of joint in the shoulder pad to hold on the shoulder pad to the actual shoulder itself. I think they do stand a little smaller But for the most part, they didn't change up most of the articulation. I think they just rescaled things slightly. They still retain most of the double articulation and all the kind of good articulation that these guys come with. So because these are supposed to be 1/18 scale, we'll bring in a couple of figures that should be roughly in scale. So I know these are 3 1/4 inch, so they are actually smaller. They should be about 4 inches. So we'll bring in the penguin figure, and we'll bring in the Haya Judge Dredd figure. So you can see scaling across the board. They are pretty cool. I do like this Emperor's Champion, although I do kind of prefer the newer one that they're coming out with, because he does have an alternate head sculpt where he has the unhelmeted head, which is based on the miniature. As far as I'm aware, it is based on the miniature, but it is quite a nice figure. So all in all, if you want to just get one Emperor's Champion, I would recommend the newer one over this one. If you want something that looks a little bit more classic, they do look different. They have their own unique looks to them, so it's up to yourself which one you want to go for. I went for this one, as I said, before the second one was announced, like literally a couple of days before the second one was announced, which is a kind of a bummer. I'm sure other people out there feel the same way, kind of, oh, I bought an Emperor's Champion, then like later they go with, here's another one. But all in all, it is a really cool figure. So do I recommend picking this up? If you're a completist and you want every Black Templar figure, then you might as well go ahead. If not, it's up to your own choice which version of them you want. I like this one. It is interesting, but I do kind of prefer the other one a bit more. Price-wise, I can't remember if there's a difference between the two prices. I think this one may be a little bit cheaper than the newer one, because there's less parts with it. I could be wrong, but like sculpting-wise and detailing-wise, they're pretty much the same. But all in all, not a bad figure, and I do like it. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video review for the Black Templars Emperor's Champion. And as always, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Cheers, guys.